And hello, everyone. I'm David Guzman. Welcome inside the NBC4i Digital Center for the latest edition of NBC4 Sports Extra. It is the post-game edition. Let's take a look inside Ohio Stadium. This is the post-game room, and that is the podium. We are awaiting reaction from the Buckeyes, including head coach Ryan Day, as the Buckeyes still undefeated going into Michigan week. The final score, 42-9. Over Rutgers, and thus begins rivalry week. A lot of thoughts, though, about this game, and as we await post-game comments, we also bring in the one and only Coach Bill Conley to join me. Coach, just a lot of ways to look back at this afternoon, but we are now officially into Michigan week. This was probably, I would say, the ugliest game that we saw from Ohio State, but if ugly also means that you won 42-9, that is still pretty impressive. Your thoughts after an interesting afternoon at the Horseshoe?
Well, I'll tell you what, David, I know for sure what the three most common words were by Ohio State Buckeye fans today. Who is that? Right. Who's that guy? Where'd he come from? But, right. Take, for example, Dave Adolph, number 82.
Yeah,
he's
local guy.
In terms of, Dublin guy. And he had the most receiver yardage of any other receivers. Now, Max Klare was the guy that caught most of the passes and most yardage, but all of a sudden there's Dave Adolph and a lot of other positions too.
Yeah, because obviously, Ohio State playing without two of its big-name receivers, Carnell Tate and Julian Sayin. Jeremiah Smith. Julian Sayin was in that game. He played. It wasn't his best game, but it's still, I don't know. It was an interesting first half. What were your thoughts from that first half? Because it was only 14-3 at halftime.
Yeah, well, the thing, it was kind of ugly, I guess is the best word, because we had the ball right there on the 1 yard line and we fumble it going in, which you really can't do. So that's the second time we fumbled, inside close, or one was an interception actually in another game, but can't do that. You knew that eventually things were going to turn for the Buckeyes in a big way, and it did. But the thing that stands out to me, this was 2 weeks in a row, David, where we had more rushing yardage than passing yardage. So the one good thing that's happened, our running backs are starting to play really well. They're getting a lot of reps, getting a lot of yards, and of the 6 touchdowns scored for them were via the ground.
Once again, we are in post-game coverage here. David Guzman alongside Coach Bill Conley, recapping the 42-9 victory, Ohio State over Rutgers, and now we are into rivalry week, Michigan week. But we still have a lot of thoughts about this game. For this team to do what they were able to do, let's talk about the defense, because once again, impressive. And you know what? It should have been more impressive if it wasn't for a penalty that took away an interception by Davison Igbinosun. But it's one of those things where if Ohio State goes on to win the whole thing, it's because of this defense.
No doubt about it. I mean, playing at such a high level and giving up less than really, it's around 7 points a game. And again, we dominated their offense. They couldn't do anything really until late in the game when substitutions started going in the game.
It was so quick the way the defense was able to work when it mattered the most. I mean, they were barely on the field, and that's what you want to see out of an Ohio State defense. I mean, 3 and outs, so quick. When you look at the final stats, it's not accurate as to, how impressive and how dominant this defense was. But the way that Ohio State was able to run Rutgers off the field right away, that's got to make you feel pretty good going into the Michigan game. Yeah,
exactly right. I mean, we had 10 tackles for a loss, including 4 sacks. That's a good day for the defense against anybody. And I think one thing that you had mentioned, Dave, today was exactly true. As the game went on, you could see that Rutgers was really getting wore down, both sides of the football.
They were tired by the second half, and that's why we were able to see the touchdowns scored in the second half the way that it happened. It's really funny. Coach and I were talking as the game was going. Either we saw abysmal performances or the touchdowns were kind of boring. Like, it was like they were walking into the end zone at this point. We saw James Peoples do that. We saw Bo Jackson do that. Let's talk about the receiving core a little bit, because I think that is where there was a little bit of concern, especially when you're playing without Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. Max Klare had flashes of brilliance, but there were also some concern. There was a drive in the third quarter where he wasn't making the big plays. What did you think about the overall receiving core here? Because they were obviously stepping up without two big names.
Well, I think really, if you have to look at it, to be honest about it, it's kind of average, you'd say. I mean, for a guy like Dave Adolph finally got a chance, paid his dues. Great day for him. The rest of the guys, made some plays, but just not in sync like we expect our Ohio State passing game to be. And for a tight end, Max Klare did a really good job overall.
Yeah.
But what you don't get with a tight end catching the ball is you don't have breakaways. A guy can get caught, he's not going to outrun a safety or not going to outrun a corner.
Yeah.
But he's steady, made good plays, blocked well. So, he's been a great asset to the program.
6 different receivers in arguably probably Julian Sayen's, I would say, weakest performance. And if weak is 13 for 19, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, that's pretty good. And also the biggest stat there, 0 interceptions once again. We have Ross Bjork at the podium, and I'm interested to see what he's going to say. So let's go to the podium right now.
Last week we honored a Jerry, right? Jerry Lucas. And Jerry's a legend among legends. And today we get to honor another legend in Ohio State athletics, Jerry Emig. Dedicated career, a true professional in so many ways. Just does a great job of covering the local media, the national media, has relationships throughout. It's been a blessing for me to work with Jerry over the last year and a half. So on behalf of the entire athletic department, Jerry Emig, forever a Buckeye, thank you for your 23 years of dedicated service. That's a good SID day. That was his quote. So what you have to do, though, is you got to fill this up with all your Buckeyes from your Buckeye tree, because this is what this is made for. So, Jerry, thank you on behalf of Ohio State Athletics and the university for all the years of dedication.
I'll just, I've already had my little chat with you guys, but I just want to say I feel like the most fortunate person in the world. I've got family, I've got faith, I've got friends, and I've got the most badass football program in the country that I've been able to support for 23 years, and I love them. And I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Let's go 6 more for Jerry. 6 more games.
Classy. I love that. For those who are joining us that do not know, that was Jerry Emig, the sports information director, aka the PR staff for Ohio State football. He's been leading that for decades, at least.
Yeah.
Jerry's just one of the greatest guys to work with. I've only been here for 2 seasons now, but obviously, Coach, you know him pretty well because we've seen him around. When we're talking about the press conferences, the interviews that he's been able to coordinate, everything that you see on TV from the Buckeyes, he has played a role in that. They did a really cool tribute to him. Jerry was able to kind of give a little bit of a speech during one of the media timeouts in the press box. Great guy. I mean, Coach, there wouldn't be Ohio State football the way it's played out in front of the media and for the fans without a guy like Jerry.
Yeah, he's first class all the way. Very organized. And, he's a guy that helped us a lot in recruiting. David, he would really talk to the parents a lot when they come in for their official visits. He'd talk to our players about how to do an interview and things like that. So he really has been a big asset to the program. He really will be missed because that's a tough job, coordinating all that media, all the media sources, making sure everybody has passes and parking passes and everything else. I tell you, you have to have to love that job to do it well, and he really did a great job.
Absolutely. He's heading into retirement after this football season. Well-deserved after decades of service to Ohio State. Great guy. Love his Minnesota accent whenever he talks to us. So he's played such a big role in Ohio State coverage, and definitely well-deserved tribute from Ross Bjork that we just saw there.
Yep.
We are still awaiting post-game coverage, post-game reaction from Ohio State. There's a look at the podium. We are awaiting awaiting Ryan Day, and we're also awaiting some reaction from the players as well. Once again, you're joining us, 42-9 victory over Rutgers, and now we're going into Michigan week. While we have a minute, let's go into the game notes for a little bit. Julian Sayin, 13 for 19, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bo Jackson leading the way on the ground, 19 carries, 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. We talked about Max Klare. He led the receiving core. OSU improving to 11-0. All-time against Rutgers, also now 11-0 going into the Michigan game. So let's get a thought about the Michigan game now that we're here. They looked good. It wasn't the greatest performance, but if this is, again, your worst performance and you're going into this must-win game, you're trying to end a drought that dates back to 2019, you still got to feel pretty good about how Ohio State looks, especially with that defense.
Yeah, but the thing we're thinking right now, the big thing is health of the football team.
Correct.
Let's knock on wood a little bit. We've been lucky this year. We haven't had very many injuries at all. And nothing real serious even right now. But when you're a receiver and you got something wrong with an ankle or a knee or a hamstring or something like that, then, it doesn't heal real quick. So I think it was a good move by the coaching staff of not playing our 2 best receivers. Took a lot out of our offense, of course, and it's a little tougher on the quarterback because the timing with the other guys you don't work that much with at the receiving position, that you're not going to be as effective as normal.
All right, Ryan Day's at the podium. Let's hear from him after the 42-9 win over Rutgers.
Not only for Ohio State, but for me and my family. I think about when we made the transition from being an assistant to the head coach and all the different things that we've had to navigate along the way. And you've always been steady and fair, and you have the respect of certainly everybody you work with, but I know everybody out here as well. So I just want to make sure, publicly I thanked you for everything you've done. So thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Yep.
Thank you. We'll move over here to the right. Austin Ward.
I don't imagine you will update much on the status of Jeremiah and Carnell, but just playing without them, what did that do for your offense, and how difficult did that make the week of preparation to try and put together a plan without them?
The only thing I'll say really is that, they are day-to-day, and, the staff and those guys are working really hard, to get ready to play next week.
Over here to the left, Joey.
No, but sorry, but I'm just, just talk about the week and everything. I felt like, the guys had a really good week of work in terms of focus, and it was an opportunity for guys to step up in different ways. And so, whether it was defense, special teams, or on offense, nobody really flinched. Everyone's like, come on, let's go play. And I think that's been sort of the approach of this team and this coaching staff. So, it'll be the same way this week, and those guys are going to fight like heck to get back on the field. But no, I thought the guys played hard today. I think the running game averaged just under 7 yards a carry, and then I think on 35 rushing attempts, we held them to 66 yards. So, that was really well done, and they came out fresh, and they had a couple of things for us that were a little bit different, coming off of the bye week. But I thought our guys handled it again, sort of businesslike. So overall, that was well done. There's obviously things that, if we think we're going to get away with fumbling the ball on the 1 yard line or putting the ball on the turf, that's going to cost us a game. We know that can happen. But overall, there was a physicality in the game that I thought, was set from the jump. And again, for the seniors, can't thank them enough publicly. I've done it before, but I want to do it again. The true warriors on the field and everything they've done, because, they put it on the field. They're the ones. And so on behalf of everybody at Ohio State, these seniors deserve to be thanked for what they've done. Certainly what they've done for me and my family and all the coaches and for the brothers. And that's why, it was our obligation to make sure we did our best for them, to make sure that their last game on the field was special. And I think they had a great game, and they played hard. And guys like Caden Curry, what a great play he had. And so great to see them, finish out, senior day with a win like this.
I'm going to go ahead and send Kenyatta Jackson to the very back for a few minutes worth of interviews. Then we'll move over here to the left. Joey Kaufman.
Ryan, what's your overall feeling of comfort with the depth at wide receiver if you're not going to have Jeremiah or Carnell, and just how those guys did today?
Yeah, I thought overall there was some good things there. I thought David had a really big third down catch. Brandon had a really big week last week. And I thought Max, stepped up in a big way. So it's a great opportunity for those guys. Brandon Ennis is a leader. He's a captain of our team. And, Bryson Rogers, Mylan, David, they've really had an opportunity here to step up. I think there's some good things that they did. There's some things they'll get on film and get better, but we need to play depth. Everyone knows that, and this is their opportunity.
Over here to the right, Spencer Holbrook.
Yeah, Ryan, it didn't look like Milan played at all in the first half. Bryson a little bit as well. Were they held out for any reason, or what was behind that? Because
he played a little bit, and when he gets in there, obviously we want him to be consistent and do his job, and so we're challenging him to do that and step up in a big way, and the more he does that, the more he builds trust, the more opportunity he'll get.
Rob Aller.
Yeah, we saw Brandon grab his shoulders. An update on him. Is he okay?
Yeah, he's okay.
And is the running game where you want it to be going into next week?
Well, we always want it to be better, but again, when you rush the ball 38 times for 254, I mean that's good coming out. We'll get on the film and figure out what's what. It's you got to sort through everything and figure out what the efficiency of each run was, because that's a part of it too. You can hit some big runs and maybe get fooled. I don't know exactly what our efficiency was and what went well and what didn't, but I thought guys ran hard. I thought there was some good things. There's certainly nothing's perfect, but that's what we're striving for.
Think you have to lean on a little more just with the wide receiver injury situation, or not?
Well, we'll have to see. Yeah, I mean each week is different, in terms of our approach and what we need to do, but that's why we have to have balance, and we've said that all along. And so here we are in November, and we'll do whatever we can to put our game plan together to put our guys in a situation to win the game.
I'm going to send Caden Curry back to the back left table for a few minutes worth of interviews. Then we'll go over here to the right, Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
Ryan, you talked so much about mastering the process. Given all the distractions that next week could have been for your team, how pleased were you with how prepared they were this week? And certainly now that game is over, turning the page, preview what's to come next week.
Yeah, I do. I give the guys a lot of credit for focusing, and I think not having both Carnell and Jeremiah allowed us to focus even a little bit more on the job at hand. Whether that really played into it or not, I don't know, but our guys have been pretty consistent that way. So now, this week has got to be the best. We've been working towards this all year, and we want it. We know that the opponent is different. We know what's at stake. We know we're playing for hardware now. But at the end of the day, it's still about us. We can't all of a sudden change things. And so we want to keep it as routine as we can, knowing that, again, now we're playing for hardware. And not only gold pants, but also an opportunity to get to Indy.
Over to the left, Bill Rabinowitz.
Yeah, that was kind of my question. How quickly after this game, or maybe even before the final, went to 0-0, were you thinking about next week in Ann Arbor? And the fact that you're not changing the schedule, usually is everything's on Monday. Now
right.
Is that just part of keeping the routine the same?
That's it, because as we know, everything that comes with this game, we want to keep it as routine as we can and keep the guys focused on what we've worked on all year. And the number one goal is to grade out a champion. So we'll come back in tomorrow. We'll grade this film, figure out who's a champion in this one, and quickly move on to the Wolverines.
Were thoughts already started to creep in your head before the game?
Yeah, they're always in the back of our mind in terms of what we're working towards. We know this is the last game of the year and what it means to everybody here. So, it doesn't take long in the fourth quarter once the game was in hand to, everybody start figuring out, that, this thing's coming fast, and it was just a good look in everybody's eye in the locker room, man. We're excited about this one, and just need to focus on, what really matters, and that's everybody just doing their job and going on the road, and what's going to be a great environment, and going to get it done. So that'll be the focus, and we'll continue to do what we've done all year. That's it, and have a great week and focus on that day. And the coach's job, is to give them a great plan, and we got to be at our best. Everybody has to be at their best and play really, really hard.
Over here to the right, Stefan Kreisnik.
I guess, Ryan, to build off of that, you talk about it being in the back of your mind. This is a senior class that hasn't gotten gold pants, hasn't won in Indianapolis yet, and they've talked about that being a goal for them. What have you thought of the way they've kind of compartmentalized that throughout these weeks to get to this point and understanding what they had to take care of in order to get gold pants, get to Indy, and all the rest down the road?
Well, yeah, you've heard us talk about this, really focusing on the process, because it's easy to just say I want to get to the last game of the year, but if that happens and you get distracted, you can get upset, and then all of a sudden your season can take a turn bad. I feel like we've focused on us. I felt like we've been consistent in our approach, and so now, but that's all in preparation for this week, and so we have to continue to do that very thing, and that's what it's going to be. But Yeah, to your point, I think when we talked about, chopping wood and carrying water from the jump, like that's what this was about, was to making sure that we weren't just saying, hey, let's just get to the end of the year and everything that comes with it. And so now we go. But along the way, when you think about how fast the season's gone, it seems like it's gone really, really fast. But then again, you think about that first game against Texas, and that seems like a year ago. Just how different this team is now from when it first started. And so, all the work that we've put in is now, got a show for us. And that'll be the focus this week.
Bill Landis, over to the left.
Ryan, the last time we saw the offense with Carnell and Jeremiah was the Penn State game. You guys were explosive, surgical, just sort of what you are when you're at your best offensively. What is your confidence level that you can get back to that with those guys being sidelined the last couple of weeks and not having just the momentum going into this game next week?
Well, we'll figure that out once we know what the status is, but the ultimate goal is to win the game, and that's it. And, we're going to do everything we can to win the game based on what we have, and we'll just go from there.
Over here to the red, just got time for a couple more. Tim May.
Yeah, first I'd like to salute Jerry Emig on both tours of duty with the Ohio State football team. Well done, Jerry.
Thank you.
I don't know if I get that chance later. Ryan, does a 49-yard run count as a home run by James Peoples? You understand what I'm saying? I've been asking about getting that home run. But then number two, what is your confidence in this run game? Because like we talked about earlier in the week, you're going to face better defenses, but do you feel like it's on track now to go to the big house?
Well, I think you've seen a lot of progress throughout the year. I think you've seen guys get better, and I think every time these running backs touch the ball, they're getting better. So we've been working at it, and you're seeing a lot of progress being made. And again, now we got to be at our best. Yeah. I mean, a 50-yard run for a touchdown is a big hit, and when you get explosive runs like that, but it takes execution. I thought on that play, our right tackle, Justin Terry, and Jelani Thurman did an excellent job coming off for the second level, and then Nate Roberts did a really good job on the secondary guy, and then we made a guy miss in a hole, and that's how it works. You need great execution, but you got to make a guy miss. So I thought our O-line did a decent job, for the most part, of getting guys to the second level. There was some things that we got to, hit cleaner, but that's part of the run game as well. And when we get, positive plays in a run game and we stay on schedule, then, that's when we're at our best.
This will be the last question for Coach Day. Two more questions for Caden Curry back there. Patrick Murphy.
Ryan, you guys obviously have been dominant defensively all season, but when you have these injuries on offense and are working with some things, how comforting is it to know you can rely on the defense, especially early there after the fumble, to get the ball back and kind of get you guys going?
Yeah, well, it's a team effort, and when you see us executing special teams the way we've done the last couple of weeks, we pin the ball on the 1 yard line on the pooch. That all matters, and when you're playing team ball like that, yeah, they work off of each other, and yeah, certainly, as you know, when you get turnovers like that and the ball's on a 1 yard line, and even though we made that an adventure, that's team football, and it's offense's first job to take care of it, and then run the ball and then become explosive, and then score touchdowns in a red zone, and when your defense is playing well, it certainly helps, but each game is its own story, and we need to be at our best in all three phases and get a team win.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.
You know how to.
All right. We're trying to get Caden Curry's audio there, but had some technical issues. Let's go back to the podium.
Here to the
We
left,
got Max Klare
Brianna
to
McKay.
react to the 42-9 win. Let's go to the podium, Max Klare.
Carnell and Jeremiah, how does that kind of change your role and open up your receiving game, especially today?
Right, yeah, I think it's just more opportunities. I mean, obviously not having those guys out there hurts. We always want those guys out there just because they're so special. But when your number's called, you got to make a play, and it's kind of what happened today.
Over here to the right, Spencer Holbrook.
Yeah, Max, what was going through your head on the hurdle?
Yeah, I'm not really too sure if there's much going through my head on that. I just decided to jump, so yeah, I don't know if I'll do that again.
And then getting in the open field, things like that, you seem to be able to do a lot of that last year. With the way that your role has changed, how good did it feel today to be able to kind of see yourself in open space a little bit more and get a few yards after catch?
Right, yeah, no, it felt really good. That first one, I was out there in the middle of the field, and I don't know, it felt kind of awkward. I haven't been out there like that. Kind of blew a tire on that one. That's what it felt like, at least. I don't know if it looked like that, but it felt really good, though.
Over to the left, Bill Rabinowitz.
This will be your first Michigan game. What's your level of anticipation, and what's your sense? You haven't been here for the last 4 years, obviously. What's your sense of the motive or the determination to end that streak?
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to be a part of it. It's obviously a game that's why you come here, playing games like that. And, just like every other week, we got to attack it, attack the game plan, attack the preparation, and go out there and execute at a high level.
Okay, folks, I'm going to send Carson Hinsman all the way to the back table for a few minutes, and then we'll continue on with Max over here to the right, Tim May.
Max, did you feel some kind of, I don't know, feeling of responsibility today to step up even more, with Carnell and Jeremiah sidelined? I mean, you talked about that a little bit, but getting the ball that many times, do you feel like you came through also in that regard?
Yeah, I think I came through for the most part. There's obviously a couple that I won back. There's still a lot of room for improvement for me, so just got to keep building on that and keep growing each week.
A lot of people think y'all haven't faced enough adversity to call yourself, ready for a big game, et cetera. What is your take on that? The idea that y'all haven't faced enough adversity offensively, even though you're playing it up with two of the best receivers in the country, for example, today.
Yeah, I think just what Coach Emig puts us through in the offseason, preseason camp and stuff like that. I don't think he's coming. Builds that callus that we need for runs that we're about to go on. So definitely.
Back left, Dan Hope.
Max, it seems like you're just getting more and more comfortable in the offense every week. Like, how different do you feel right now than you did maybe week 1, week 2?
Yeah, I think I feel a lot more comfortable. Just more comfortable with my role and what I'm doing and what I'm asked to do, and just got to keep growing on it. So.
And over here to the left, Doug Lesmerises.
Max, we know that you guys got to play with whoever's out there, but how do things change with the defense when Jeremiah and Carnell are not on the field? Can you tell anything differently about how they play you guys?
Obviously, a huge emphasis on the defense when they're out there is them. But I think it's still pretty similar from my point of view. So I haven't really noticed too much difference from my perspective.
All right. One last. Jeff, go ahead, please.
Yeah, having a defense at your back like you guys have this year. I mean, this is probably as good a defense as you've ever been had your back. What's that been like for this offense? I mean, I know you don't take it for granted, but how has that helped you guys as an offense?
No, yeah, it's definitely special to have a defense like that, and it only helps us. I mean, we have so much confidence in them, and what they're able to do on a week-to-week basis, and that gives us confidence to go out there and just let it loose.
Great. Max, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Coach, while we have a second, what do you tell a player who's about to play in his first ever edition of the game, the rivalry game?
Well, first of all, you got to stay relaxed as possible because inside you're churning like crazy. What you got to do, though, is you got to really concentrate, think technique work all week, and then you just got to relax and make plays. You can't pressure yourself too much.
You think Max Klare is ready for what's to come next week? A transfer from Purdue. I thought he did pretty well. There were some mistakes that he made earlier, but I think, to lead the receiving core without a Jeremiah Smith or a Carnell Tate, he's an experienced guy, but there's nothing that can prepare you for what is the game, especially up in Ann Arbor.
Absolutely. But I like his personality. I think he's got the personality that you want in a tight end. It doesn't seem like a guy that gets overly down on himself or anything like that. He's got a pretty positive attitude. I always has a smile on his face. The type of guy that really like to coach.
Yeah, let's wrap things up here a little bit. Again, 42-9 win for Ohio State over Rutgers. I want to ask you about that opening drive for Ohio State. They get all the way to the 1-yard line. They're knocking on the doorstep, and Bo Jackson coughs up the football. You can do that against a team like Rutgers. We've talked all season long about these red zone opportunities that are missed. I'm just going to ask it to you straight, Coach. I mean, can you afford to do something like that against a Michigan team?
No, not at all. Because, you're playing away from home, first of all. And second of all, you got to take advantage of every opportunity you have. And you have to also take advantage of the field position you have. And you can't do something like that because you're basically giving away a touchdown. Fortunately, now our defense has been able to bounce back when that happens and stop people. But you can't count on that happening every time.
point being, it's a theme that we've talked about all season long, and it is a bit frustrating to kind of go back to that as we're into the second to last week of the regular season. But it's always a reason to grow and improve, and I'm sure that with the pressure of this game coming up, they'll be locked in and focused. We've talked about the defense. We saw a little bit of more special teams. We saw a little bit more punts than we'd like to see. I think we saw 2 punts today from Joe McGuire. This game coming up, as the season has kind of evolved, it was like this was Ohio State's to lose. But Michigan has so much to play for. Granted, as of right now, as we're talking, they still have a game to play against Maryland, but we're setting up this game up in Ann Arbor. They're ranked, and they still have a shot to get into the playoff, and they're trying to play spoiler. They're trying to prevent Ohio State from getting into the Big Ten championship game. They have a lot to play for, not to mention, of course, trying to win a 5th straight over Michigan. What do you think is on the minds of the Wolverines going into this one? Again, knowing that they still have to play a game against Maryland. And how do we set up for what should be a pretty epic battle? We haven't seen this kind of anticipation for a game since the Texas game, Coach.
Yeah, you're always going to have great anticipation for this football game, I tell you. And really, you control your own destiny. I mean, it's right there in front of us. Got to go out and get it. And I think the key for Ohio State is we cannot buckle it up. We can't do that. We got to let it all loose. We got to take advantage of every weapon we have offensively, running and passing game. And for Michigan, this is their chance to make their season. This is definitely make their season because they will have a chance to make the playoffs if indeed we would slip up.
Pressure is always a part of this rivalry. We saw that play a huge part last year at home for Ohio State. There's no doubt about it. The mentality had something to do with how last year's game unfolded. But, and we always have this debate, if that didn't happen, do they win the national championship? That's a whole, mental gymnastics that people like to play. Yeah. That being said, what is the best mindset going into this game? We heard it from Coach Day. He's trying to treat next week as normal as possible. In fact, they made next week, in terms of the media schedule, the same as in previous weeks. And normally, because it's Thanksgiving, it's a kind of a condensed media schedule where we get, I believe, Day on Monday and we get the players on Tuesday. That's not happening this week. It's basically as if Thanksgiving doesn't exist. What is the best mentality for this team heading into this rivalry game?
Well, I think what the coaches are doing is exactly right. First of all, you don't make it so big that, every minute of the day you're clenching your fist and thinking about it. You can't do that. At the same time, they know, everybody knows, if you're an Ohio State player, because everywhere you go in this community, and even in the classroom, I mean, the teachers, other students are all talking about this game. So, you can't avoid it. And it's great to have that type of situation, though, because that's why you come to a place like Ohio State, to have a great rivalry and to play against, a team that throughout history has always had a great program, just like our program. So, you just got to, I think, again, emphasize relax, play confidently, and whatever you do, don't be uptight. Make plays, defense swarm to the football, which they will do. Get some turnovers up there and get the ball in good field position. Take advantage of every opportunity you have.
All right, last one before we go. Let's talk about Julian Sayin. Ironically, a performance that isn't quite memorable, but again, as we talked about, I think before we went to the podium, 0 interceptions, another clean performance. What more could you really ask for when you're just trying to get the victory? This is going to be his first one in this kind of big stage. I mean, we saw him perform against Texas, but this team is, as Day said, nowhere near what they were when they played Texas. This team has now evolved to a point where here we are. Every single game they play from here on out is going to be this big stage. Coach, how ready is Julian Sayin for this big stage?
Well, he should have a lot of confidence. He really should, Dave. First of all, he's performed so well. High percentage completion rating for him. Also, it's a situation where he hasn't been sacked very much. His offensive line has done a great job protecting him. He's been able to sit in the pocket, and when he has to hold the ball a little longer than normally you want your quarterback to, he's been able to respond. And he's a real natural at what we call escaping from the pocket, meaning that if he needs to step up, he can step up. If he needs to slide, he can slide. I think also you'll probably see a little more movement from the quarterback in relation to pass protection, moving the pocket. maybe more to the right or to the left, situations to make the pass protection even easier for the offensive line.
To follow up on that quickly, Coach, because we did not see Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate, are you still confident with how Julian is able to perform without his best receivers? Because it is very possible that we get to the same scenario next week against Michigan. Obviously, you want to see your best guys out there, but we don't know what the injury situation is like. He must have some confidence, though, knowing that he could still do the job, play run game coordinator, and still get the victory.
Yeah, I think so. And obviously, you want to have your best players there. No, there's no doubt about that. But he's a guy who's been able to perform admirably with guys he doesn't really practice with that much in relation to the offensive unit. You know, you throw to all your receivers and drills and things like that, but in terms of unit play, now he's got to get used to some other guys, and they've been performing, pretty well. In each game, they will get better running routes and those things you have to do, reading coverages. So, and as long as that offensive line gives him protection, I think he can have an outstanding game against Michigan. And he's been here long enough to know the importance of the game, so it's not like he's a rookie at it.
Yeah, we are looking forward to what will unfold a week from today in Ann Arbor. Bill Conley, we appreciate the time. Thank you as always. Once again, Ohio State winners over Rutgers 42-9. The Buckeyes improving to 11-0 on the season, and it sets up an epic matchup that is set to unfold the next edition of the game, Ohio State versus Michigan, as the Buckeyes try to end a drought that has lasted since 2019. That was the last time Ohio State defeated the team up north. That will do it for this edition of NBC4 Sports Extra, the postgame edition. Until then, I'll see you next time. I'm David Guzman. Got a lot to talk about over the next week as we get you ready for Ohio State versus Michigan.
Thanks for watching. For more NBC4, download the NBC4 streaming app. You'll get free 24/7 local programming streamed straight to your living room. Just search NBC4 Columbus on your Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Roku, or Samsung device.